Crypto Sniper, welcome back. Glad to have you. And we've highlighted that yesterday Bitcoin getting its move up through the 100K is a great move to the upside. And we've mentioned also the Bitcoin dominance. And let's go and have a look at the charts at that Bitcoin dominance. And we've also mentioned that we've been saying we're in a very unique zone where we expect a turnaround. We've actually suggested that turnaround twice before. In fact, once we warned that it might be coming, we said we thought that was it over there. No, Bitcoin down, more fear in the markets, continued for a while longer. You had a big spill here with a hammer. You had kind of a little bit of a rally, and now we're getting a move now. Now you'll recognize that we waited a fair bit before we went, listen, it looks like it's alt dominance season now. Which is what we said there, only to be proven incorrect. Bitcoin continued to, the markets continued to stagnate during that period because of what was going on in TradFi. Not quite sure it can go up like gold has gone up as an alternative reserve asset, but not falling like the stock market had fallen either. Sitting in between, kind of deciding which team it was on, the falling team or the climbing team. However, it started to hold up pretty well, and we got dollar weakness, real dollar weakness. So that's seen Bitcoin still typically dominate. But now we're getting that possibility. Too soon. We ain't going to say it's a turn, but we are seeing liveliness out of alts. That is included in Ethereum, which has been a very big disappointment so far this particular, call it a bull market that we've had so far. So that's a little bit on dominance. Also, we spoke in a live stream when there was a lot of fear about Binance. So I want to revisit that, because as is typical with volatility squeezes, you're never partially wrong. You're never partially wrong. You're going to be 100% wrong if you're wrong, because we trade squeezes. And guess what? It doesn't cost you any more to be completely wrong than if you're partially wrong. This was a squeeze. Now, it had a very descending triangle structure to it. So we want to talk about Binance. Here we're looking at it on the 6-hour time frame, squeezing it in a little bit. Typically, when you get this kind of structure, and this was probably before we had the spiky candle, when we were sitting here, we were highlighting that is very descending structure, and that you might get a weak rally. You could get an exit entry, my apologies, short, and that this would have gone down 180 degrees incorrect, of course, because crypto has held relatively well and dollar has got really weak. That's what's been the big news and the drivers. And we understand why the dollar weakens, because there's too much debt. You're facing a debt-based collapse. And more it's looking like the debt-based collapse is finally going to get to that point that the collapse in treasuries, this is USTs and the dollar itself. So either the treasuries are going down. We called the turn in the debt market on September 2020, by the way, on our sister channel, the Market Sniper. And then the debt market fell 50%. They can't have treasuries fall too much more. Right now, they need the currency to fall. That's how you continue to devalue the basis of the benchmark. This is good for crypto. But soon you'll have a moment where both fall together, because they need to contract. And now the whole world has seen that there's a patsy it's like sharks in the water. There's an injured fish that is bleeding out. All the sharks are going to come in, and you go into likely contagion. In other words, it's like the famous Ernest Hemingway saying that says, bankruptcy starts slowly at first and then suddenly very quick. And that's what we expect for the debt markets. Why are you saying, oh, you sound so bearish that it's such a doomer? No, because this is turbo juice potentially for the new financial system, which, as we've said many times before in legacy crypto videos, requires this Jupiter-sized planet of debt. Quadrillions. There's they've already assessed just debt issued by nations is about 326 trillion big, and has hit a new high, by the way. So that's how big that market is. And we don't think that covers derivatives and a whole bunch of other things that are actually very relevant. So sitting with Bitcoin at around 2 trillion and the rest of, crypto market cap, not even 2 trillion by addition, we've got a lot of inflation to do. And that could be very good for you. That could be very good for me. If we position and we have some liquidity, if they haven't finished ironing everybody out, crushing the Gini curve, those tokens could move very well. Well, of course, Binance has been rated by CoinDesk as the most robust, highest scoring exchange. And now we might be reverting back to a bull market. That's why we look at their token. So what are you seeing here? You see that this was an upside break. We've redrawn the draw for the upside. It was a very beautiful one had it been downside because of that descending triangle structure. However, instead of resistance that's, support that eventually fails, it's turned into support that stood. And now you're going back into where these tops were on the second impulse. You're getting into that range. And we actually have the potential of 827. That's the geometry that it predicts for this break that has taken place from 621 over here. See the green number, 621. Also the entry in our target box. By the way, this is the HVF method draw to that you will get access to as a member of our community. Book a call below on the link. So with that all said, it's looking like the alts are going to respond a little bit. Key point, however, Bitcoin needs to, during this period that it's giving up a little bit of the growth relative to the others, that means it can still go up slightly, or it can go sideways or even slightly down. What it doesn't need to do is to fall really hard and get a bit down. Unlikely, I don't think, for it to do that, but we did a little bit of an update on Bitcoin yesterday, and we've been getting the community long over the last few days on alts in expectation of this, and we have certain alts we quite like. So that's one trade you could look at for the upside, quite a big move. Stop placement there. If you want to put the long risk reward ratio on it, I would even optimize the stop a tiny bit. You would go somewhere there. Let's actually do that. You'll battle to get in much lower. I'd put close to the action, and I'd probably work it a little bit instead of going all the way to the red level if you're late now. By the way, we're not financially regulated. It's not a trade recommendation, but it's a potential target with a risk reward that could be very well served in terms of how you do. Around 5.3, you might even be able to creep that up to our midpoint there, which makes it a 6.37. Also, it's the first structure in a new trend, so you could close half and hold the other half for a little bit more. So remember, as debt and America collapses under the basis of its debt, and the dollar currency is affected through that process as a result, what ends up transpiring is these guys start to get a run. Particularly the status tokens, and a few of you in the comments, the more courteous ones, have asked politely for an update on XRP, so we're going to do that today. All your interactions in the comments are appreciated, including all the ones that seem toxic and give away to some people that seem a little bit young in the maturity realm. But good luck. Go and tell us how garbage we are in the comments below. It's very good for the algorithm. After the tears and the quivering bottom lip, I get up and I march on, because there's sensible, good people watching who appreciate a free update on YouTube with some technical analysis and what we think about the technical markets, having been engaged in crypto since 2016. Let's have a little look at the Tron, for example. This was a nice little squeezy. We also had, and we gave this to our community. They've been in this one for a reasonable bit. The original setup is actually a bit earlier, and I'm going to show you where it comes in so that you can see how useful the draw tool is. He's so proud of his tool. Ooh, don't say that to your girlfriend in God knows what kind of things. Definitely don't say it to your mum. But anyway, let's have a look at that in the normal time frame. 12 hours, 12 hours, 12 hours, 12 hours. So let's put it on there and show you what we think is coming. So we saw these first inverted setups, and when we saw that Binance was possibly more likely to flip, we were drawing, and there's quite a few that potentially imply upside to the markets. I want to just fix something that's not right. It's that one. There we go. Let's try draw again. And I'm also going to do a little workaround. You can see from this that we have an upside target of around 27.27. We've also been patiently sitting. And again, this was when Bitcoin made me a bit nervous because we had a little bit long. It had a little washout not very long ago. So this is a 12-hour. It's half a day session. It's a night or a day. And that little flush out, then you stabilize there. If you had hung on and survived that, plop, pop, 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 now we're getting stretchy candles. It looks like our 27.2 will run. And of course, this was a great little wind up itself that kept us motivated for holding on. So Tron has given us some potential moves to the upside. You're seeing a lot of alts all moving now. This is the tendency. But remember the big players. You want to be in XRP, you want to be in Tron for your investment and also for the best upside and the liquidity as well. We never shill small caps. That's not what we do. There are other channels for that, and they often hold positions and are dumping them on you. Please be aware of the bad actors that have been engaged in crypto. We've seen many come and go. Many get caught and limp on with their reputation in tatters. We never take a position against you. We can't and we don't, and we talk largely about the biggest tokens generally. Okay, good. So let's have a look at XRP because folk have been asking about that. So we've had this downside channel on XRP for a while. At one point we were looking, could we have a larger retrace to the downside? That slowly dissipated as a threat. Generally, you had a spike here. You came and you revisited. We pointed out that the $2 was very, very important. We also gave you, for those that think we're so stupid, we also gave you the localized high at 3.36. It went to 3.34, and actually you would have been incredibly well served being out of the market on your investment for this period, whilst we went through the dollar debt uncertainty and a lot of the sell-offs where there was some risk or fear vibes. Only gold really benefited during that period as the key anti-fiat king. So as we see here, BOP 2's turned into a bit of a thing. You did have a deep dip here, but it did hammer out. Somebody got some good value XRP at 1.6. And since then, lower volatility. We like lower volatility generally, not universally. So you need to understand about technical analysis. And this is what so many people get wrong. And then they get mad and angry, is that low volatility generally is bullish. However, you can have a low volatility environment in a unique setup that subsequently absolutely spill. And news events will be part and parcel of that, and other things. This little candle here was the one that actually broke the descending channel. We refer to that as a capping descending grind line. And there was a channel all the way through these lows. And then you also were interacting with our key observation, the 2. So you can see that you had that one dip, and that literally was as bad as it got for XRP. You've since been doing what we refer to and phrase as squaring up. You're in a downside vibe. Now you do this. And the key level of significance, the $2, helped you attain that. First, it had to have a flush out to the downside there and then go back to supporting on it as it had done before. It did that. It flushed the weak hands out if there were long-term holders that were getting jittery, and now it's built up. You can see this is now a squaring up in this manner, kind of like a ledge, and now you have the break to the upside. Congratulations. Congratulations. You've either done one of two things. You sold at 3.36 because the crypto sniper said you're likely to have a localized high, something that, as I've mentioned, so many of the people in this channel that comment seem to forget and hate on us. But we're happy to have your comment anyway. Hate some more. Write it. You're so useless. You're garbage. I like teenagers. It's awesome. I have a few, it's all good. But now we're squaring up out of this channel and you're popping to the upside. So this is, again, mildly bullish, but we need to still bear in mind, we need Bitcoin. This is the catch with crypto. You need, for alts to have their run, you also need a bit of cooperation from Bitcoin. Bitcoin to not do too much, otherwise it becomes the honey badger and sucks all the money, ergo the BTC dominance, which has just continued to trend. Why we are not calling that reversal again just yet. We're going to wait again for longer, like last time when we did it. And even still, we were wrong, 100% wrong, because we thought, okay, maybe that's the bottom. Didn't happen. Carried on lower. So we need a lot more than that. It's one swallow, it does not a summer make. So we're going to wait and see to see how much longer these alts can actually operate and run. Don't lose your head. So here we were with what we said yesterday with you. You've popped out of the broadening structure, and now you've got a short time frame, a little bit of a margin knee high. We're on the 4 hour. If I take you down into the hour, you ran our targets as we stated in that video. It's amazing when you actually play a video that says you're going up, you're going to pause at 93, and then you're likely to run 100. How many people then say, but you were short? No, we weren't. It's not. What don't you understand in there? We even played the clip in it. But anyway, you don't get to choose the teenagers that follow your channel. The wise ones know. But that was it. That's exactly what happened. And that's why we maintain it. It continues to be a good call. You went up strongly to the 93. You then churned and supported on it a number of times before, after a final flush out. That's what I was referring to. You traded upside to make and run the 100K as was stated. You've actually broken out of the broadening structure, which can leak happen. But again, you've got a high there and a marginally high there. It would be best not to lose your mind in the new charge to the moon nature. This kind of break over here could see you come back down in here and even fall into that. That's not a bear call on Bitcoin. At the moment, everything is underlyingly for a reasonable and upwards time frame bullish. You did, however, by breaking this, and we have to be so careful what we say because most people don't understand. They live in a binary world, light on, light off, bull, bear. Time frames. Please understand time frames. Inherently, overall, for this entire period, for the debt deflating, we are macro bullish crypto and Bitcoin. Okay, please understand this because I'm going to refer you to this point on the super big time frame. However, inside that, you can have periods where there are these pullbacks. Okay, and we've just come out of one where it was quite extended. Why? Because the world is in fear and doesn't know how to operate when a hegemon is about to lose its debt. That's why you had that double bottom and all of this, and you've reversed out of it. We're now coming up to the pretty thin air. I'm just saying, don't whale in long with leverage here at this point on Bitcoin, just because CoinMarketCap or whoever writes here told you. So that this is a big pumpermentals. We're actually trying to save you from losing money by utilizing technical analysis. And that is a small spinning top. Anyway, most of you get this. You're the silent majority. As I say, I don't want to take the channel's commentary down to the lowest common denominator, but I would be cautious. You could do two things. You could tap out at this fairly thin level and just have an easing back. I think it could give us an amazing winding up structure. Or things will get that bad on the debt and crypto will be seen as one of the alternatives and we get a walkout. It's a bit frustrating to get a walkout here because it's difficult to know. But at the moment, the daily candle is an indecision doji. That's a small candle, small range, small body. That means I'm thinking about this other bullishness. That means you were at one point breakout bullish and now you're pausing. Those can be moments where you get a reversal. They can be moments where you just need to think for a bit, set up a continuation pattern, and you continue higher. It's not a high probability moment to be wailing in, especially that close to a high. There's lots of room for it to pull back into a comfort range that it's been in before, and breaking new territory typically takes a lot of additional money. There is no QE like there was from the 4,000 all the way up to the 64 because of CV19. The Fed can't do much. It's boxed in on interest rates. It's got a stubbornly high inflation because of a weakening dollar, tariffs, and a weakening shelf space of goods coming its way. All of these things are happening, and it's got a recession from its consumers. This is called stagflation. It's very difficult for him to do. Especially when you're sitting at 4.3% on the 10-year. You run the rates down first, and for that, you need buyers in your bond market. There aren't that many in the US market, so the US is quite quiet. We may need QE and printing to come from China and Europe, where their rates are a lot lower, and they are less priced for failure in this debt-based collapse that we've been calling for an extended period. Okay, so Bitcoin. It just rolls, churns, eases slowly. It's a nice way for the alts to be allowed to run. It can't spill its guts. If it does that, you will find that all the alts will be responding in kind. And at this level, that's just a little bit of too much of a high risk. So don't go mega mental and look to make back lost money in a single trade just yet. Trade small, trade smart. We've shown you setups with stops in both the Tron. You could actually, it's a bit late to be entering this one, by the way, but this is broadly, if we take you up to Tron, a very nice rounded bottom. Who doesn't like a nice rounded bottom? Head on down to the beach and have a look at those rounded bottoms. Or you can take a look at Tron's chart. I don't know. It's a tough call, but I like them both. So where's the pen? Here you go. You want to see, you had a bit of a super surge on a copy me like XRP vibe for Tron. This has been a lovely basing out, and I call it a bit of a watermelon smile. And inside of that, we've also shown you the upside structure that we've drawn for you earlier. Let's just put it on. I might have to go back down to the 12-hour for you to see it. That's this one. So target there is 27, but 27 points, but this is the first in a new trend after a lengthy pullback, which all the weak hands should now be out. All the leveraged hands would have been crushed out early on. The super leveraged, the moderately leveraged, and then the lightly leveraged all crushed out. The board quickly sell out of boredom, nothing ever happening, and now it's ready to go. So there's a lot of money on the sidelines to come in. I don't think retail is part of that lot of money. Some, but retail generally has been wrecked by what's been going on in the markets as a whole. So with that all said and done, we're likely optimistic for further upside on the alt market. We've shown you Binance, we've shown you Tron, and in actual fact, if I just go here to show a little reminder for cryptocurrencies by market cap, Bitcoin up 6, Ethereum we've got to show you because it's absolutely woken up like thunder. By the way, MicroStrategy, we criticize Michael Saylor for his overt positioning and the manner in which he makes his arguments, but this remains in a channel going up, the shares. We've never been a shorter of MicroStrategy. Bitcoin has to become this big thing, it appears, and it will probably be inflated, and he's utilizing debt, which is being devalued immensely. So his borrowings are being devalued, and his asset he's purchased has been leveraged long. As long as the control structure delivering this, he's going to look like a genius, and his equity is going to do brilliantly. So that's one thing you can certainly say. We were going to show you, let's get rid of the Taiwanese dollar there. We're going to show you Ethereum USD. So what is ETH all about? Coinbase. ETH has had a good move up. By the way, it was in a bit of a M-shaped top there. We draw every pattern. We don't expect them all to perform. It broke and it's turned. It's clearly turned, and it's not going further, I would imagine, if this move continues, unless we were to get a violent sudden shock. It's returned all the way to the neckline on quite a strong candle. Having traded at its low at, what was the low there on a small hammer? 1383. It is now 23. So it's picked up $1,000. That's a nice little livener of a move for ETH. Of course, there's been some developments, and of course, it's also been ignored for a long time. So it's still an underperformance if we put on ETH DOM, but that is something that is going to keep the Ethereum friends in the chase. There's the dominance, and this is what the dominance has done for an extended period. We have watched this. A long time ago, we drew, is this a right shoulder? As you can see, it's spilt all the way down and down and down and down. We once thought it was possible. Would it stand over there and survive? There were jabs up and jabs up. No, all the way down. So Ethereum has effectively come below in dominance the previous down leg. So it's worst ever performance in dominance. I'm just going to remove all the lines we drew. You can see it's lower. It's almost like round and down. And this is just a small push in the direction. So I don't recommend it, even though it's made some changes, but it's been so badly rated, it could go up in dominance quite a long way and still be an underperformer for the overall bull market so far. It shouldn't have been so badly battered, especially as the top crypto in the app, the non-Bitcoin sense, in terms of smart contracts and everything else. I think it's been superseded by a lot of others. So some of you might ask, show us Solana, for example. So we'll put it in. We've not found the technicals particularly interesting on Solana. There's potentially a little bit of a falling wedge that has broken. It also flushed out against the 130. There was a bit of support. That's how it's traded. And now it's making up. It's not the most exciting. This was the key period, by the way, where getting into Solana would have paid you very well. Most people by project thinks other tokens do it better. And this is a chosen one of some form without really technically delivering. We can also have a look at, we have ADA fans. We've looked at, so Doggy was quite a big climber. Boy, oh boy, it just never seems to do proper technicals for a chart call, Doggy. It's not one I've ever really traded with confidence. I've very rarely been in it. Is there something technical? You might say, possibly here, 19 or 20 cents. That could be something technical, actually, and it might be a first time. And you could have just triggered it not so long ago. So, Doggy, I'd possibly look for 19 or 20. Let's just check the high on that. 19.3. Maybe you could get away with a 19.25 there. That would be quite aggressive. That could be arguably a inverted head and shoulder. The safer, more conservative people would put the neckline on the round number of around 19, I think. So that might be safer. But that does represent a reversal from the 15. You supported on the 15, then you flushed hard on it, you bounced and you supported. So what does that give for people that want to trade doggy? I would wait for, more. I'd prefer to trade other tokens generally, because an inverted head and shoulder, I like an HVF and an inverted head and shoulder. I want more, particularly on a token that has been very quiet and then sudden spikes. If elongated says something, 27,851 would be part of a reversal. You can always revert back to the neckline on the way up, so be careful. The stop loss would have to be there under the right shoulder. So there you go. We've given you a draw for doggy. Okay, quite a few things that we've shown you today. We've got a lot more cryptos. I'm going to be doing a detailed crypto breakdown now with the community, where we're going to look into a number of other things with more advanced HVF techniques, and to see if trading our Tron investment, XRP investment Tron, are the positions to still be holding on. We have other things that we might turn up, and you can find out how that analysis pans out here. But a stirring in the alt markets that's given a small poke up on the BTC dominance. We want real evidence of a trend change before we go full alt mania. But that's how things start. And it could be you cry wolf twice, and then the third time the wolf comes. It could be that way. We will see whether this is that time. But we're not going to call just yet. We're going to wait till we see a little bit more. And also, be warned on that lower time frame regarding Bitcoin. It's leaked out of that broadening structure, but a little bit of thought, and you're very close to legacy highs. You can cycle back here. That's too, if it was too consistent and steady to the downside, can take a little bit of the steam out of alt upsides. They need Bitcoin, unfortunately. That's why the alt run windows are often quite narrow, because they have to coincide with the Bitcoin bull market. Bitcoin has to be doing well without doing too well, has to be steady and not giving back. So it can't be mooning and it can't be absolutely dumping. So you need reasonable circumstances. Occasionally, when you get real indicator, sort of very specific project related information, you can have a weak Bitcoin and that project can really, really run. That remains to be seen. That typically requires a Trump announcement, an asset reserve, etc., etc. Okay, so we've given you another crypto update. Things are livening up a little, but one swallow does not a summer make. Okay, catch you next time. Thank you for liking and telling us how crap we are in the bottom below. We love that. Thank you for engaging the algorithm on our behalf. And you can also be polite and awesome as well. That's also allowed if you really want to. Until next time, I'll catch you later. Bye for now.
Tired of profit wipeouts and blown accounts from following trade signal groups and other YouTube channels? Looking for a better way to trade, reduce your stress, and minimize your risk? Become a skilled technical analyst and see the charts and markets in a new light using the successfully proven HVF method by Francis Hunt, while being surrounded and supported by a principled, structured, and experienced community. Enjoy a constructive learning environment while practically trading markets, supported by a bespoke platform run through browser and app, specifically designed to teach and engage you whilst learning and growing as the markets move. This is not a Telegram or Slack signal group. All trade ideas are based on a proprietary technical analysis process honed over decades, which is the HVF method, leading to trade ideas with fast-moving breakouts and tight stops, exact entries and exits, nuanced interim considerations, and ultimately, strong rewards. Submissions are graded and scored by Francis for potential high-quality setups, and we provide bespoke tools to help get the job done properly and with precision. Over time and with focused effort, you'll begin to look at charts and price action just like Francis. Community updates every day by Francis and our 3 webinars a week provide a 360-degree approach, which are presented by our experienced team of trade leaders to spot potential trades. We're a community of self-actualized individuals, spanning the globe and active 24/7, 365. The premium community provides a warm, supportive, and cooperative place for people willing to listen, participate, contribute, and to learn. We've changed thousands of traders' lives. Transform your approach to trading now. Transform your life. Book an introductory call with us on the link below.